Recently, we've been seeing a fair amount of press about mom as the primary grocery shopper, and we thought we'd take a little bit closer look behind the numbers to see what's going on here. Because our own research suggests that this isn't really the case, that the primary grocery shopper is primarily not mom, but other people. And so let's start with the first statistic, and that's that 23% of adults, and by adults I mean those aged 18 to 64. I know that seems a little bit young to cut off for shopping behavior, but as we're talking about moms, I thought I would keep it a little bit closer into ages where women are actually mothers. So the numbers, 23% for parents, are about the same for women. If you look at women, there's about 25% who are mothers. So if that is the number that you're going by, at least 25% or no more than 25% of primary shoppers, if all primary shoppers are women, are actually moms. So we're already down to about a quarter of the number of shoppers who are out in the stores these days. If you look at men now, there are, at least in the research that we've been studying, upwards of 40–45% men claiming to be primary shoppers for their household. And so at least a certain portion of those people shopping out there are men. About 12% of men live alone, so we can count those as primary shoppers for their own household since they live alone. There is another X% who are going to be dads or living with others that are not part of a family. They are also part of the primary shopper pool. Statistics that we've seen elsewhere suggest that about 37% of men are primary shoppers, which is, let's say, close to a third of men. If we work that out in terms of the male-female gendered split with primary shoppers, we can assume that men constitute about 30% of primary shoppers. So if you take the 70% who are women, and of those 25% are mothers, the math works out to about 17.5% of primary shoppers are moms. So we can round that up, let's say, to be a little bit generous, to about 20%. And if you're talking about primary shoppers now, we're talking about 1 in 5 is a mom. So if your focus is on mom, you're missing about 4 out of every 5 shoppers that comes to your store. And the numbers are probably higher than that. This is just an estimate based upon some rough calculations, erring on the side of more moms rather than fewer. And if you look at the spending power, which is another argument that's advanced, moms spend more than women who are not moms, let's say. But actually the households that spend the most for groceries are those where there are no children. So they're extended families with all adults, they're unrelated individuals, they're larger households, but they're not households with children, and therefore they're not households with moms. So the spending is actually greater in households without moms. So moms don't necessarily have the greatest buying power when it comes to household spending either. So if we look at the 20% or so who say they're the primary shopper, of those, many are influenced by others in the household. So even if they are physically going to the store, they're not necessarily the primary decision maker or sole decision maker. If we look at numbers based upon what women themselves are reporting, only about 4% of primary shoppers are moms who have sole decision making power. So of the 20% or 25%, if we go even higher, most of those are actually shopping for a household in which they share decision making power with people who are not necessarily in the store. So targeting mom isn't necessarily the optimal target there either. The bottom line is that if you go after mom as your primary shopper, you're missing at least 4 out of 5 shoppers. And those shoppers are going somewhere if they're not going to you. So it's probably time to be taking a look a little bit beyond mom.